Okay, so you found this document on the Industrial Revolution. Wow, this is a lot to unpack.
It really is.
It's not just some history lesson about, old machines and stuff. We're talking about the stuff that made our world what it is today.
It's true. The Industrial Revolution is about so much more than just a few inventions.
Right. So where do we even begin with something this massive?
Well, it all started with a population boom in Britain around the late 18th century.
So more people, more problems. Is that what sparked the whole Industrial Revolution?
In a way, yes. With more people, the demand for food and just like everyday stuff skyrocketed.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. More mouths to feed, more bodies to clothe. But how did they even keep up? Did they just find a way to make way more food?
Not magically, no. What happened was a huge shift in agriculture. Farmers started moving away from that old system of shared land. They started dividing it up as private property instead.
Hold on, they just decided to split up the land. Why would that make them produce more food?
That's a great question. It all comes down to incentives. When farmers had their own land, they were way more motivated to make it as productive as possible. The more they grew, the more they profited.
Makes sense. It's like, hey, this is mine now. Time to make it work for me.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about private property. New farming techniques also played a massive role. Take the Norfolk system, for example.
The Norfolk system. Okay, you're going to have to explain that one. I've never even heard of it.
Imagine this. No more leaving fields empty for a season to let them recover.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Right. They used to do that.
They did. But with the Norfolk system, they started rotating crops. They'd plant different things in a cycle, which was way better for the soil. Meant they could actually get more food out of the same amount of land.
Wow. That's actually brilliant. I thought those crop circles were just like alien messages or something.
This is way more down to earth than aliens.
Okay. Point taken. But the Industrial Revolution wasn't all about farming, right? I mean, we're talking factories and machines and all that.
You're absolutely right. At the same time all this was happening on farms, big changes were brewing in the textile industry.
Textiles, you mean like clothes and stuff?
Exactly. The demand for cotton cloth was going through the roof, and Britain, they wanted to be the ones supplying it all.
Okay, so how did they keep up? Did they just hire a bunch more weavers?
That wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah.
They needed to find faster, cheaper ways to make cloth. That's where the machines come in.
Ah, the machines. This is where things get interesting. Give me the rundown. What kind of inventions are we talking about?
Get ready for some serious innovation. First up, you've got the flying shuttle, which sped up the weaving process big time. Then came the spinning jenny, a machine that could spin multiple threads at once, meaning tons more yarn.
Whoa, they were really pumping out the yarn. But it gets even better, right?
Oh yeah, it gets way better. Hold on to your hats because here comes the power loom, a machine that basically automated the whole weaving process.
Whoa. Are you saying they went from hand weaving to fully automated looms? That's insane.
That's the Industrial Revolution for you.
Oh,
Everything was changing so fast.
no wonder it's called a revolution. These machines must have completely transformed the textile industry.
They did. But it wasn't just about making cloth faster, you see. These machines were a sign of something much bigger, a fundamental shift in how work was done.
That's a good point. So we've got this population boom driving demand, new farming techniques to increase food production, and then machines like these revolutionizing how things were made.
And that's not even mentioning the steam engine.
Oh man, the steam engine. You're talking about the one James Watt perfected, right? Don't tell me it was just for powering those factories.
Is a game changer, that's for sure. The steam engine revolutionized transportation.
Transportation. Now you've got to elaborate on that. How did the steam engine change the way people and goods moved around?
Just imagine, before the steam engine, everything relied on wind power for ships or horses for carriages.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very efficient.
It wasn't. The steam engine was a complete game changer. Suddenly you had railroads with those steam locomotives chugging along, replacing the old horse-drawn carriages. And steamships started replacing sailing vessels.
Okay, now I'm picturing those classic steam engines, wheels turning, smoke billowing. What a sight that must have been. But hold on a sec. Railroads, steamships, they both need tons of iron, right? Where did all that iron come from?
That's where things get even more interesting. Remember how we talked about the ripple effects of each innovation?
Yeah, it's like one thing leads to another.
Exactly. The need for iron absolutely exploded with the rise of railroads and steamships.
That makes sense. But they were already using iron, right? How did they keep up with this massive demand?
Innovation, the name of the game. Think about people like Darby, who figured out how to use coke to smelt iron.
Coke, like the drink.
Not quite. This coke is a fuel made from coal. It made the whole process of smelting iron way more efficient.
Ah, okay. So they found a better fuel source. Clever.
And then there's Bessemer. He's the one who figured out how to convert iron into steel.
Wait, Bessemer, was he the steel magnate guy?
That's the one. And his invention was revolutionary. Steel was stronger, more durable, way more versatile than iron. It was a game changer.
So what you're telling me is that these iron guys, Darby and Bessemer, they were crucial for making railroads and steamships possible.
100%. They were all part of this incredible chain reaction of innovation.
It's mind-blowing how connected it all is. We've got agriculture, textiles, transportation, iron production. It's like a giant puzzle where all the pieces fit together.
And like any good puzzle, there's always more to uncover. We haven't even touched on the economic side of things yet. All this innovation, production, trade, was all happening within a whole new economic system that was taking shape. Capitalism.
Ah, capitalism. Now things are getting really interesting. So how did this new economic system come about?
Well, thinkers like Adam Smith, they were big proponents of free markets, letting supply and demand do their thing. He believed that if individuals pursued their own self-interest, it would actually end up benefiting society as a whole.
Wait, Adam Smith, wasn't he the guy who wrote that famous book about economics?
You got it. The Wealth of Nations. His ideas fit perfectly with the whole spirit of the Industrial Revolution. Entrepreneurs taking risks, investing in new technologies, and everyone competing in the marketplace.
Capitalism, free markets, supply and demand. It all sounds kind of complicated, to be honest.
It was a complex system, no doubt. Yeah. But it's also incredibly dynamic.
So how did they even keep track of all this money flying around? Did they have, like, giant spreadsheets back then?
That's a great question, and it brings us to another key part of the Industrial Revolution. The rise of new financial tools and institutions. We're talking about the emergence of banks, stock markets, and these things called joint stock companies.
Okay, I'm going to need you to break that down for me. Joint stock companies. What are those, and how did they help fuel all this industrial growth?
Think of it like this. Building a factory, or, laying miles of railroad track, it takes a ton of money. Way more than one person usually has lying around.
Yeah, I imagine those factories weren't cheap. So how did they raise that kind of cash? Did they just pass around a hat?
Not quite a hat, but you're getting the idea. Joint stock companies, they were like a way for a bunch of investors to pool their money together. That way they could share in the risks, but also the potential rewards of these big industrial projects.
So it's like crowdfunding, but for factories and railroads instead of like indie films and board games.
You got it. And the stock market, that was the platform where people could buy and sell shares in these companies. Made it a lot easier to raise capital and spread the risk around.
So more people could get in on the action, huh? Sounds risky.
It was a whole new world of finance. And of course, we can't forget about the banks. They were a huge part of this too.
Right, the banks. Always got to talk about the banks. What was their role in all of this?
Well, they were like the middlemen. They'd provide loans and credit to these new industries that were popping up left and right. Basically, they kept the money flowing, which was crucial for all that rapid industrial growth.